And welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. We're visiting with our friends Kevin Smith and Linda Smith, Mr. and Mrs. Kevin Smith of the United Way campaign from PPI Graphics. Let's give a shout out to your business.
Thank you.
How long have you been in business here in Canton, Ohio, and serving the area?
41 years.
That's a pretty good track record.
Almost as good as hers.
Yeah, and is this a team effort in business as well as volunteer?
No, actually, I work for Sirac Financial Services. I have been with them for about 34 years.
And Gary Sirac was with us last week with his book about what your money would say if it could talk.
Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, wonderful people.
Yes.
So pretty good to have a financial person. Is she your financial advisor with the business?
Yes, she is, as a matter
A
of
little
fact.
bit, yeah.
Keeps us on the straight and narrow with all kinds of little projects.
And it's always wonderful to see couples step up to the plate every year when United Way does their campaign and say, all right, we'll share this thing.
Yes.
And it is, it's really something, isn't it?
It's quite an operation. We really need to, make sure we recognize the United Way staff that works on this because they kind of point us in the right direction and help us through the task of the day, and hopefully we can answer the call when the final numbers start coming in at the end of the year.
As this year's chair people, what is your responsibility? What do you do?
Well, the campaign actually started earlier this summer with myself and United Way staff members visiting a majority of the CEOs and presidents of all the corporations that are kind enough to show their generosity towards United Way and our community. And Linda has been working intensely with a new vision of United Way for Women United, if you might want to talk about that for a second.
That's a wonderful subcategory of United Way. Let's talk about Women United.
Okay. Women United at one time was called Women's Leadership. And we, just about a year ago, changed the name to Women United because it better defines what we're trying to do in the community.
Well, let's talk about women as philanthropists, because I think so many times we kind of go along with what our husbands give to, but sometimes we earn our own money and we would like to contribute it to some things that mean a lot to our hearts as well. So tell me about women as philanthropists.
Well, we have a very diverse group of women, and it is a joy to work with them because they bring so much to the table. We're working right now on a couple projects to try to put a hand out to women in poverty, to give them a hand up, and also do some mentorship with them to help get them on the right path and help them down the road.
If we could park here for just a minute, because I'm very interested in what you're saying. It is tough. I do some work at some certain boards, and once a person has spiraled down, it is tough to be able to spiral back up again, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And last spring, we did an event, and we had the documentary Paycheck to Paycheck. And it was very difficult to watch because it was about a single mother with children working and everything she went through to try to provide for her family, keep all the balls up in the air, plus try to get some additional education for herself to be able to provide better for her family. And it was exhausting to watch her schedule and her defeat.
Yeah. It's one thing where I would say, oh, this is wonderful. Look, here's some job opportunities. And then to have the response being, I have no car to get there to do an interview. I have no appropriate clothing to wear to a job interview. Who takes care of my children while I'm at this job interview? It's almost like so much work to get a job that once you're there at that point, can we turn it around for them? Can they turn it around?
We're hoping.
Yes.
We're hoping. But I mean, for when you're living paycheck to paycheck, it could be something as small as your battery died in your car. And that just throws your whole domino of life into abyss that, you are having trouble to recover from.
And if there are not the services in your area, to be able to just wash your clothes, but to have to hop on a bus to go somewhere where there is a laundromat because you don't have one in your service area, to be able to have to hop on a bus to go to the grocery store, and then you have to carry all those bags somewhere from a bus home. You don't have a trunk to throw them in. We don't think of this is not on most people's radar.
No, it's not, because the majority of us do have means and friends and family that we can count on to help us out in situations, but a lot of these women are very much on their own.
So tell us the success stories. Have you seen some wonderful things coming from it yet?
Not as yet,
okay,
but
they will.
But we just recently have been able to obtain some funding.
Good.
So this will really help us to make the programs real.
What kinds of things can we do, Linda, to help you in this effort? Because if we can get the moms being able to have the resources they need to take care of their children, then that's the next generation that it impacts as well. Can we give career clothes to some kind of a career closet to help people go have something right to wear to a job interview? What can we do? You tell me.
Well, and that is the one thing that we are working towards. For the Prosperity Center, that is
yes.
becoming very much a focus for us, as far as it is. They have created to be sort of one-stop shopping, mm-hmm. and I don't mean shopping, but coaching, jobs, everything. So if we can get this organized and get a closet set up for women, it would just be one more step to help them out.
There seems to be a lot of people who have this as their goal. And maybe another thing that United Way does is unite everyone to be all getting all those rows paddling in the same direction and be able to say, oh, you do this, you do this, you do this, let's work together and
yes.
make this happen.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Prosperity Centers. The Financial Prosperity Center, I know one of the projects of United Way. Kevin, tell me a little bit about it.
Well, the Financial Prosperity Center was opened last year, and it's in conjunction with Ohio Means Jobs. So an individual that suddenly becomes unemployed or is applying for job benefits at Ohio Means Jobs can walk right across the hallway in the same building into the Prosperity Center. And in the Prosperity Center, there's a lot of things that they can do there. Some home run hitters was their income tax program to file income tax returns for individuals that I think the joint income level is $65,000. I could be off a little, but I believe that's fairly close. To allow them to file their income tax return. When the Affordable Care Act was passed, a lot of individuals simply stopped filing their tax returns because they were worried about penalties for not buying health insurance in the exchange program. But what we found out...
What about penalties for not paying your income tax?
Well, when you don't have $75, that other $50 doesn't make a lot of difference, does it?
Wow.
But by going to the Prosperity Center and getting the tax returns filed, we were able to, or Robin Seaman, who runs that organization, started working with them to get the earned income tax credits and some other benefits. And the number that last I heard was $3.5 million returned to our community just from their work up there.
Isn't that amazing?
Right, and now you give the people a base to start from when they get that tax return. So budget coaching is also part of the Prosperity Center. So if you give an individual a hand up with tax refund money, now we want to work on teaching them how to get out of the same rut and how to break that. So there's financial education classes and workshops available. Some of them are called Money in Motion, Financially Frozen, My Money, My Goals, and Getting Ahead and Getting By World. In the workforce and employment services, and Linda hit on this a little bit, they have new employee coaching, career readiness classes, job search assistance, clothing vouchers, which you alluded to a little while ago, and some employment training. So it's kind of a one-stop shop so that someone just doesn't go on to an unemployment program and then they're lost. So, we have to be able to try to figure out a way to get them to lift themselves up. So we give them the opportunity. They just have to grab a hold of it.
Unemployment affects people in ways far beyond financially. it does something to a person's self-esteem. It does something to their mental state of mind, and not a state of mind where you become the ideal candidate to walk through a door. You know, if a person is just down in the dumps because they're unemployed, that's not who employers are looking for. How do you help turn that around?
Well, I think it's in the job training, and I'm certain that they sit and talk to those individuals and, you know, how to present yourself to a prospective employer. You're absolutely right. My company right now is dealing with an individual that has a devastating illness, and they're not going to be able to return to work, and they're looking at all the same issues we're talking about now, losing their hospitalization insurance, the gap between unemployment and disability insurance, those types of things. And employers do think about that, especially small employers, because there's not a lot we can do. But, you know, the Prosperity Center is something that I think is going to help in the financial stability of these people that are using their service. You know, the United Way obviously supplies emergency assistance for rent and heat, and we need to work with those individuals to not just give them a voucher to get their gas turned on or prevent it from being turned off or stop them from being evicted, but how to stop that from becoming an every 6-month event, that all of a sudden 6 months they're in the same boat they were in before.
Right.
So if we can't move it away from that, you know, and in the meeting I had this morning with an individual, we were talking about that, and, you know, there are some people that are going to stay there. We have to go after the people that want to get out of
Yes.
it. And there are a lot there.
Yes.
They can't control some things that happen to themselves.
Well, I love that it's called the Financial Prosperity Center. That's a very positive way of looking at it, rather than any kind of a crisis center. Just the fact that you are focusing on the prosperity part of this, because doesn't that address the mentality again?
I think it does. I mean, I am not in that particular impact council, so I wasn't in all the details of it. But in all the CEO calls that we've made, you know, that is one thing that has really hit the CEOs, that, you know, we're going to help these people hopefully going forward to get them, you know, to reach some income levels where they're not spending more than 30% of their income on housing. And what is the definition of acceptable or affordable housing? Might be completely different to you, might be completely different to me, might be completely different to the individual that's applying for aid. But the fact of the matter is, you know, if you can get them into what is acceptable to them, then we've met that goal, and that's a good thing.
I don't want this to sound terrible. It is so much work being poor. You have to know everything. You have to know where to go to get everything. Way more work than I would never make it.
Well,
and I don't. And I'm thinking, well, if you can do this, then you can certainly hold down a job and take care of your family.
Well, that was one of the things that was interesting in that document we did on Paycheck to Paycheck, because this woman, like I said, she had a full-time job, 3 children, and the agencies she had to go to for help. She had to schedule appointments. She had to get there. She had to take her children with her because she had nobody to watch them because it was after work, or sometimes these appointments would be during the day while she was at work. So it is a very difficult job for people of no means to get around to even ask for help.
Yes. But as you say, there's so many who really don't want to just stay there, who really want something better for themselves and for their children.
I would absolutely agree with it. I think the other thing that people also have to remember is United Way's 211 referral service, which is a wonderful organization. They take a staggering amount of calls for referral for service. But if you are really in the rut, you know, if you are down in the dumps, you don't know which way to turn or where to go, you know, pick up the phone and call 211, and they will offer some type of direction for people.
And we need to remember, I mean, anything can happen to anyone. And so often you find people who are used to being the givers end up having to be on the receiving side, and they definitely don't know where to go for services. United Way steps in there as well, does it not?
Well, they do. And the other thing, one of the agencies I personally reviewed for funding was Prescription Assistance Network with Carol Rosaletti, which is an outstanding organization. But they treat the clientele that comes in there as individuals with a very caring and a passionate air about them. You know, people go in there and receive medications, and they pack them in pharmacy bags, so they look like just came from the pharmacy. Most of the people are using public transportation, so when they're leaving Prescription Assistance Network, they look like they they look professional. They
Yes.
look like they just didn't get somebody just dropped a handout on them and they're
Yes.
carrying it home in the bag that everybody knows what just happened. But they treat all their clients with the utmost respect. And of all the agencies I've reviewed, they're not unique. They're all very passionate about what they're doing, and there's some great leadership in this county, particularly in the nonprofit world, of helping these people.
And preserving their dignity.
Absolutely.
We do need to take a short break here. We'll be back with Kevin and Linda Smith after these words. You're listening to Our Community.